And we have one more panel in store for you today. So our final panel, we will be discussing chatbots, copilots, agents, robots, and the future of AI agents. We'll be hearing from Tamar Yehoshua, President of Product and Technology at Glean, Denis Yarats, co-founder and CTO at Perplexity, Laurie Voss, VP Developer Relations at LlamaIndex, Tri Dao, Chief Scientist at Together.ai, and this will be moderated by JC Mao, Distinguished Fellow and Venture Partner at Fellows Fund, ex-Google and ex-Microsoft. Please give a huge round of applause to our final panel.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our panel discussion on AI agents. The field of AI agents has been rapidly evolving, encompassing everything from chatbot to copilot that we interact with on the daily basis, to the emerging agents and the robots that will transform how we live and how we work. So this is a very exciting week. On Monday, OpenAI announced the GPT-4o and also showed off their amazing demo on their voice assistant. On Tuesday, Google kicked off their annual Google I/O, and where they unveiled a slew of products and services that powered by Gemini. And also Google DeepMind also showed off their project Astra, which is a personal AI assistant. So this is very exciting. So here we are at our summit and talking about the AI agent. So today we have the pleasure of hearing a diverse set of panelists at the forefront of Gen AI field. I'm very sure with such a diverse panelist, we will have a very engaging conversation on AI agents. So without further ado, let's get started. So as I mentioned, Gen AI is the forefront of everything we are doing now, and it has been evolving very quickly from traditional AI to conversational AI to agentic AI. So my first question is try to get everybody on the same page. What is Gen AI, and what are the defining capabilities of AI agents? And Tamar, you want to take the first question?
Sure. So everybody's using this term agent, and I feel like as we're hearing about more agents, the definition is getting blurrier and blurrier. Like people thought they knew what it meant, but now everyone is calling everything an agent. So I turned to Perplexity, and I said, how would you define an agent? And it said, something that takes input, has sensors, takes input, gathers information, makes decisions, and takes actions, which I thought was a pretty good definition. It's autonomous, and it's decisive, and it actually takes an action.
That's a great definition. I hope everybody agrees this definition. So what is your favorite AI agent?
So, agents are actually not a new thing, as we've talked about. Agents are something that takes input. And one of the things that I use every day is in the car when I'm driving, the Google Assistant, which I know you worked on as well. And, you get a text message, it'll read, it'll ask you if you want to reply, and then it will. So this wasn't using new LLMs, this was using previous technology, but it's an agent, and it actually does multi-turn tasks.
Got it. Other panelists, Dennis, you want to answer this question?
Yeah. Is it working? Okay. Yeah, I think my favorite one is, I think the one that we built in at Perplexity. I'm biased, obviously, but I think it's kind of like something that is going to just do much better search for you, answer much better questions, much harder questions. I think we kind of like, even like last year, initially like introduced something where it does like multi-step reasoning, can do like multiple steps, can even like ask follow-ups, and like maybe ask like, can you clarify your questions? But you can just go so much beyond that, and so I'm super excited about it. So.
I think, I mean, working at LlamaIndex, I'm staring at people working on agents every day. So I attend a lot of hackathons. I think my favorite agent that I've seen recently was quite simple in execution, but really powerful in concept. It was an accessibility agent. It was a Chrome extension that reads your web pages for you and reads them out loud, but doesn't just say every single word on the page. It was summarizing. This is what this page is about. Here are the links. Here are the things you can do on this page. And I think one of the defining characteristics of an agent for me is tool use. And so it had a variety of tools that it could use, and it could say, it could fill in a form for you, it could follow links for you, entirely via a voice interface. And I thought that was an extremely impressive use of agentic capabilities to have real-world impact.
Yeah, so I'll mention one example, which maybe two examples. One is Devin from Cognition Lab. I think they had incredible demos and really capture everyone's imagination of kind of an automatic software engineer, where you kind of talk to Devin as if you talk to a junior software developer on Slack, and Devin's able to kind of pull up the documentation, install the software, do the stuff that you kind of ask Devin to do. Of course, it's it's a demo for now, so that's one agent I really like. The second one, very closely related, is a bunch of folks, I think from Princeton, very quickly follow up and had this SWE agent that kind of does very similar things using fully open source models. So those two examples, I think, kind of capture the imagination of what agents can do and the kind of maybe the economic value the economic potential they can bring.
Thanks for sharing your favorite agents. By the way, I asked the same question to ChatGPT, Google Gemini, and Microsoft Copilot. They all refused to answer this question. So I'm really happy our panelists share their honest opinion on their favorite agents. By the way, I also asked the question to Perplexity, and it is the only chatbot or search engine actually give me the answer. Thank you, Denis, for that. Yeah. So my next question is today, most AI agents are built on top of large language models, augmented with some agentic workflows, and that support reasoning, planning, use of tools, execution, and even interaction with other agents, and so on. So they are able to perform better than most the baseline models on many tasks. So I know Glean and Perplexity have been very successful building successful applications or agents. So I would like to Tamar and Denis to share their experience and lesson learned in building Glean and Perplexity.
I think we started it very simple, just can we do the most basic things very well? And the most basic thing is just, can you provide an accurate answer? And can you do it fast? And so usually those two things kind of like at odds with each other. Like the faster you are, usually the quality is lower. So we kind of like had to really spend a lot of time on like evaluations and like building tools where we can like really understand where, you know, the answers is like not great, or maybe where we have like blind spots and stuff like that. So I think having a very detailed overview of your system and knowing like where things are working or not is very crucial, especially with LLMs, because it's by the stochastic nature of the things, you know, it's just hard to reproduce, but it's just a must. So I think I would say this is perhaps the best thing we've done, because it's like a very fundamental one and just like unlocks everything else that you get, that you do beyond. I'm sorry.
Thanks for sharing.
So for people who aren't familiar with Glean, Glean is an enterprise AI platform where it will crawl all of your enterprise data, whether it's in Google Docs, Microsoft, Slack, Salesforce, Jira, Confluent, and then you can ask questions on it. You can search on it, or it's an assistant where you can ask questions across all your enterprise data. So the hardest thing about building Glean was this is enterprise data. Enterprise data, security and privacy is the most important thing. And we use the LLM to generate the answer, but it's the retrieval engine. It's the RAG that was built over the last 4 years to really understand how to model the enterprise data, build a knowledge graph from it. What signals do you use to know what's relevant? How do you preserve permissions and security across all of these different tools? So that's the foundation, and we had to spend a lot of time getting that right, because enterprise data is really complicated. And also to what Denis said, that how do you evaluate it? How do you make sure that with the non-deterministic aspect of LLMs that you have a way of evaluating it? And then the other thing that I found really interesting is in the consumer setting, people have been using ChatGPT. They kind of understand they might get different answers. They're using it to generate data to maybe a draft of a blog post. In the enterprise setting, people don't want something non-deterministic. You really have to try and get that answer right, because the expectations in a business are quite different.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. So AI agent developers also need some solid infrastructure and the framework to build the agentic workflows and the agents. So LlamaIndex and Together.ai, they are in the infrastructure business. So Laurie and Tri, can you share how LlamaIndex and Together.ai can help AI agent developers?
Yeah, so I agree the infrastructure layer is very important for this. So right now we've seen a bunch of smaller companies, startups, kind of experimenting with this. I don't think agents are kind of at the production ready level yet. But so one thing we need is kind of very, very fast and robust model serving. So that's what we've been building at Together. So usually agents, you need to process the prompt. You might need to do RAG to retrieve specific information. You need to deal with long context, and you might need to use tools and so on. And all that is in a loop of an application, right? And you really need really low latency as well as high throughput. So having a very robust inference or model serving system is necessary for that. The second one is a bunch of kind of these workflows will have kind of having to deal with memory. So agents, they need to, for example, access internal documents through RAG, or they need to read and write to their Scratchpad and things like that, where long context seems to matter a lot. And there we've been building some of the alternative architectures to Transformer that can deal with long context much better. So I think it's a rapidly evolving area. I don't think people have quite figured out what is the right abstraction to build for agents. But a couple things like fast inference, memory, long context, these things that we're working hard to support. I think these are necessary components for people building agents.
Yeah, I agree very much with your points. For those who are not familiar, LlamaIndex is a framework for connecting your data to LLMs. So we were initially focused on retrieval augmented generation, but one of the discoveries we made as our product matured was that the more complex your retrieval gets, the closer it becomes to being an agent. Your retrieval strategy becomes agentic in nature, and so now the framework is full on agents as well. And as you mentioned, finding the right abstractions is a real challenge. Long context, memory, those sorts of things are stuff that we are building into the framework for that reason. One of the ways that we are exploring the space is we basically absorb the best practices from the industry of what's going on. We read all of the latest papers, and as soon as that becomes, as soon as it becomes clear, like this is a technique that works, it gets folded into the library and becomes yet another strategy that you can deploy from the framework to build an agent. So you get a menu of options to put together.
That's great. So you're customer developer first platform. So could you also share what type of agents, AI agents that your developers are building on your platform?
I mean, we are a framework for every kind of agent. So I don't think there's any specific type of agent other than we're obviously very focused on RAG. So we see a lot of retrieval-based agents who are attempting to act as sort of research assistants of various kinds, whether that's in financial data or healthcare data or other industries where there's basically a ton of paperwork. Anywhere where there's a whole bunch of data that's unstructured, legal documents, things like that need to be turned into answers faster than a human can do it. One shot doesn't work very well for that stuff. An agentic approach of like, have I tried this document? How about if I go over there? What if I boil this down? What if I turn this one into math? What if I do summaries on all of these things? Like an agentic approach is much more effective there for answering more complex questions.
Got it. Thanks. I know like lots of larger language models, they are not very good at taking actions. So I wonder, Tri, if you have any observation, like any developers building action models? Right.
So agents, like one of the things that is necessary is taking action, be it like tool. People also call it tool use and so on. I think OpenAI actually does a reasonably decent job now. For example, it can write code and start executing code, but that's still in a very early stage. So one trend we've been seeing is that people are fine-tuning the models, especially open source models, for the workflow that they want to use. So, for example, if it's RAG, like the model, given a prompt, the model might generate relevant queries, which then will call a retrieval system to fetch relevant documents. And to do that, I think out of the box, you can do that with prompting, but if you can generate enough data, people are fine-tuning these models to make function calls, to use tools and things like that. I think it's like there's a layer that's built on top of some of these LLMs. So LLMs, I view it as kind of this intelligence engine that has ingested lots of data, but is maybe not particularly good at the task you care about. So sometimes it's necessary to fine-tune for the workflow you want.
Got it. Thanks. So I know all the hyperscalers are also interested in building AI agents. So that has been their main focus. So we would expect their future releases, some major improvements, if not breakthroughs, will happen. And we have seen some from the announcement by OpenAI on Monday and the Google's announcement on Tuesday. But I believe that's only the teasers for what's coming next. So what would you anticipate, what are the major improvements will come out from their future releases? And each of you, please name one major improvements or breakthrough you would like to see in their future release.
I can go.
Dennis?
I mean, the very obvious one, I think, is just replace auto-regressive generation with planning and reasoning over kind of like search. So I think that's going to unlock a lot of stuff. So.
I would say reliability is probably the most important thing, especially for agents that are multi-turn. How do you have some kind of self-reflection so that you can validate, the model can validate itself?
The one I'm personally looking forward to is I have a background in data, and as a former DBA, one of the things that frustrates me is that LLMs are almost there with being able to write SQL queries across large databases to be able to answer questions. One of the things about building retrieval systems is that when you think about retrieval systems in an LLM context, you usually think of vector search, but we have vast amounts of data in structured databases locked behind SQL interfaces, and we are this close to LLMs being able to say, okay, I know exactly where the data I need is to answer this question. Let me write flawless SQL, a complicated join to get through to there. And I'm expecting that breakthrough any day now. They are very, very close to being able to do it. As context windows get larger, as the prompting techniques get better with more examples and things like that, we're very close to being able to unlock much richer information that comes in a structured form rather than just pointing vector search at everything.
I'm most excited about long context. So this is for two reasons. One is with multimodality, where you might need to deal with audio, images, or video. Your context just gets so much longer. And I think GPT-4 is at 128K, and Google just announced their support context length 2 million. That's incredible. So I think that just unlocks a bunch of new applications where you can deal with very, very large code bases, you can deal with very long documents and things like that. And it's not just model doesn't blow up after long context, but model being able to reason over this long context. So that's the breakthrough that I'm most excited about.
Got it. Long-term context window definitely is very important. Do you think 2 million tokens is long enough, or need to continue to go up?
I think Google actually mentioned internally they've had success with 10 million, and I think people are just developers. They're very creative. So they will push this limit. For example, people have started talking about, instead of fine-tuning, let's just put like thousands of documents in the context lang and let the models reason over that. So crazy applications like that. So people are very creative. So I think we're just going to keep pushing in that frontier.
Got it. Yeah. So I totally agree. So my next question is, as the foundation models get much more capable and reliable, and do you think the value addition on top of foundational models with the agentic workflows will diminish or not? Each of you.
I was at a dinner a couple weeks ago with a bunch of startup founders, and this was one of the topics of discussion. What happens as these models get smarter? Is everything that I'm working on going to become obsolete? And I think the answer for most people is yes. We have to assume that the models are going to keep getting smarter, and a lot of the behavior that we're putting in place will not be necessary. So I think I will be very excited if a lot of what we're doing to make agents work won't be needed. Super happy to throw out a lot of code and have the models do better reasoning so that they can actually figure out what actions to take, what tools to invoke, instead of us having to figure it out, which probably won't be as high quality as a model doing it itself.
Yeah, I think it's, I'm looking forward to it. I feel like it's just like everything is about product and like how you can take advantage of this better model that can reason. I think there's a number of ideas is limited and just bound by your imagination. So I feel like if you, with the better models, if you can figure out how to build a very good product and enable like certain features, I think it's, yeah, everybody's going to benefit from it.
As a framework, every time the models get better, things get a lot better for us. The things that we were, previously struggling to get our software to do suddenly becomes easy. But I think, in addition to the models getting better, we shouldn't sleep on the models getting faster. Like 4.0 is twice as fast as GPT-4 was, and in an agentic context, that means that, for the same latency, it can take twice as many turns. It can think twice as much. It can take twice as many actions. And that is, if you keep getting faster, that can be a step change in how capable the agent appears to be, just because it has more chances before a user basically gets bored.
Got it. Tri?
Yeah, I think for some workflow, these better and better foundation models will make kind of these agent workflows obsolete. Like things like Copilot, I think just right now maybe for like a software engineer agent, you need to do more explicit prompting so that it can plan and do step by step and so on. Stronger models might be able to just do zero shot, start generating right code right away. But I think for the vast majority of application, agents more about taking action. And these foundation model providers, I don't think they're that interested in kind of catering to every single context. So I think the general ability of the model will get better. What's ideal is that it's easier to fine-tune or demonstrate to these models how to perform certain workflows. And then there'll be a bunch of kind of more vertically integrated companies that will use these as inference engine, maybe fine-tune them for actions, and still provide value in the agent workflow.
Got it. Yeah, I agree. And as the foundation model continue to improve, the impact on the startup ecosystem won't be even, because some companies will flourish if they have a deep integration and a unique value prop. Some other companies may struggling to differentiate themselves. So the impact definitely is not even. So my next question is, all those big tech companies, they are building foundational models. They are also building AI applications. So as AI startups, they need to partner with these bigger companies, also need to compete. So I would like each of you share your best practice. How do you position your company? How to compete in this marketplace, very competitive marketplace? Tamar?
It's a very competitive marketplace, and I'm used to competitive marketplaces from before Glean when I was at Slack, and you always have to do something. You have to do something that's against the grain of what the larger companies can do. So for example, Glean is a horizontal platform that integrates with everyone's products. And the big companies, they will say that they'll integrate with everyone, but they really are not going to be good at integrating with products that are outside of their ecosystem because it's not in their interest. It's not, their incentives are not aligned. So you have to do something where the incentives of the larger companies, it's not aligned with what you would be doing, and double down on that.
Yeah, it's very close to that, right? So you just want to build on your mission, whatever you think it's going to work in the future, and then sort of like make sure that your mission also can take advantage of some of the inefficiencies of those big companies, right? So and yeah, just we don't pay a lot of attention to competition. I think it's not a good thing. You just like try to do your best and see where you can end up. But also I think it's very important to sort of like think about the future and like understand where the model's going to evolve, what capability is going to be enabled, and sort of like plan for that and make your strategy around that. And I think, yeah, you're going to be just fine. There's just like so much stuff to do, and the better models are there. There is even more stuff to do. So,
and so, you know, Google also announced they will roll out AI overview on their search. So what's the impact on Perplexity?
Yeah, I mean, it was great to see it. Kind of like validates our idea that it's, you know, that's the right thing to do. I think I've tried it. I think I've been in A/B test for like over like half a year of SG. I think it's it has like some advantages, but also a lot of disadvantages. It's like Google page becomes this so overloaded. There's like lots of going on. Every piece of it fights for your attention, and I just don't think it like really kind of like competes with what we are building. We kind of like, you know, the name of Perplexity is kind of like there is a prefix like minimize perplexity, so make things cleaner, easier, and so I think, you know, there is some opportunity to take. But yeah, it's I'm excited about it. So more competition is ultimately better for the end user.
Cool. Yeah, infrastructure also compete against those bigger guys. AWS, Azure, and GCP, and so on. So what is your strategy? And anything you can share with the audience?
Yeah, we have, you know, we are an open source framework, so we can have a pretty open-minded approach to competition. We sort of embrace and extend, right? Every time some new technique comes out, some new piece of technology comes out, we can integrate with it, or we can absorb it and make it part of our framework. I was having a conversation with somebody a couple of days ago, and they asked sort of this old chestnut of a question, which is, you know, what stops, you know, a big company that shall remain unnamed from building your product overnight? And I'm like, the company does. Like the reason startups exist is because big companies can't get out of their own way to build things. So, you know, by virtue of being small, by virtue of being able to pivot on a dime overnight, you know, when a new model comes out, we pride ourselves on having support, you know, in minutes later rather than hours or days. We compete with agility.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the main point's about velocity. Being at a startup is mostly about like, how fast can you move, and that creates this tight feedback loop with the customer. Usually, like generative AI is an incredibly fast-moving area, and that I think generally favors pure play startups, where you can get out first, you can talk to customers first, you can create this tight feedback loop that improves your product faster. We kind of saw that with the big data era where, for example, Databricks and Snowflake in the end was able to compete with some of these hyperscalers. So I believe this generative AI era, I think some of that is going to happen again, as long as you move fast.
Great. Thanks for sharing your strategy. How do you position your companies in such a very competitive marketplace? So my next question is, it has been very fascinating to see the emergence of all all the agentic capabilities when the foundation models scale up. But on the other hand, there are lots of risks that developers and later the society is going to deal with. So could you share your thoughts on how to mitigate and what safeguard need to put in place?
Yeah, I think there's only one thing we care about is making sure we provide accurate and trustful answers. And so we basically build everything to support that. It's kind of like various, the way we train model, the ways we verify them, evaluate. It's about like making sure we don't hallucinate and provide like useful information. I think that's at the core of our mission, and that's why we are investing a lot of it. So I would say that that's the main safeguard that we have, providing accurate information.
Very similar for Glean. We want to make sure that everything we provide to an enterprise is permission aware and secure. You don't want somebody to ask a question about what's the salary of the CEO if they're not supposed to know. You want to make sure you respect the permissions of all of the information, and that is so critical. And to Denis's point about hallucinations, you want to make sure that the data that you provide is accurate, the guardrails are there. So that's our big focus.
Got it. Sure.
Yeah, I think it's a difficult question. Using LLMs certainly open you up to a bunch new exploits. So far, what I've seen working quite well is having kind of a separate guardrail kind of model. So for example, Meta has done an incredible job with, they released Llama, but they also released Llama Guard, which then kind of will check on the output of the model that you're generating, and then you can fine-tune this guardrail model to filter out what you do not want. But I think it's still an open research question. Yeah, so it's with LMs give us much more power, but it's also much more kind of difficult to use because the abstraction we haven't really nailed down.
Got it. So we are running out of time. I would like each panelist to share their final thoughts on the future of AI agents.
I'm really excited to see what's going to happen and how much more productive we can all be, how much more information we can have to do our jobs, even just our personal lives. I think it's going to take a lot of the drudgery and friction out of things that we have to do today. So I'm really looking forward to a lot of the automations. We have a doc of all of the type of workflows we want to be able to automate with Glean, and it's just really exciting even thinking of the use cases of what you want to see. And I think they're all realistic. I think they're going to happen within the next year.
Yeah, I think we're just getting started, like the whole industry. Right now we basically have like horses. In a couple of years we're going to have like rocket ships, and I think there's like so much more. So I'm super excited about where it's going, and maybe in like a couple of years we're going to look back and we're going to see how like those models were like so dumb, but yeah, it's pretty cool, and there's like so much product to build around that as well.
Yeah, roll on GPT-5 is what I say. So much of agentic stuff right now is right at the outer boundary of what the current models can do. That even a relatively modest improvement, I don't think anyone's expecting the difference between GPT-4 and 5 to be as big as it was between 3 and 4. But you just need a little extra oomph to get agents to be truly reliable and capable, and I'm really looking forward to that.
Thanks.
Yeah. I would say the barrier to entry is lower than ever. It's now really easy to try out this stuff, whether you want to use closed model, OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, or you want to go use open models. There are a bunch of service providers like Together, or if LangChain, LlamaIndex, these, like you can build a demo in like a day, and you don't need to be super technical to do this. And it's going to get easier and easier to use this stuff. So my message is the barrier to entry is really low. You should really try this stuff out.
Thank you. So last, I would like to thank all the panelists for sharing their insights and experience with the audience. It's a super exciting field for all of us. Thank you.
All right. Well, I would like to thank everybody for joining us for our second year of Gen AI Summit. And I am well aware that I am the thing standing between you and cocktails in the lobby. So with no further ado, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed your day. Meet us in the lobby.